Alright guys, today we are back with another cool video. We are doing a speed test between the brand new iPhone 11 Pro Max versus its predecessor, the iPhone XS Max. I don't want to keep you guys waiting. So if you guys are excited, smash the thumbs up button, make sure to share the video around with your friends, subscribe for more videos as well. And without further ado, let's hop straight into the speed test. Alright guys, hopping into the speed test. On my left hand side, I do have the 11 Pro Max in a space grey. 64 gig, and on my right I do have the XS Max in a 64 gig gold, so you can see those as well. So before we hop into the speed test, I'm going to go into settings and just verify everything with you guys so you guys can see that everything is the exact same in terms of specs, in terms of gig should I say, and what's on the actual devices. So as you guys can see at the top, 11 Pro Max on my left, XS Max on the right, both with iOS 13. 0 songs, 1 video on both devices, 0 photos, 13 applications on both 64 gig, and actually the availability on both devices is different. Obviously the 11 Pro is taking up and using more of the storage for its base application. So as you guys can see, 64 gig like I said, but 49 gig available on the 11 Pro and 51 available on the XS Max. So there you guys can see those. We're going to close those up. We're going to actually clear the app switcher out as well. It's hard to do this because the cameras on the 11 Pro are 3. As you guys can see, the device moves a lot more than the XS Max. So anyway, as you guys can see, they're both charging at the moment. I did have a SIM card in my right phone, which is why it says SOS. So my SIM card is in my hand. I've actually taken that out. So no SIM cards in both phones, but as you guys can see, there's no SIM now. So that's why it has the SOS coming up. But what I'm firstly going to do is a boot up test. So as you guys can see, both devices are charging. So I'm going to unplug the devices from the power strip with the extension cord that I do have connected. As you guys can see, that both devices are not charging now, top right corner, as you can tell. So I'm going to power them down, and then I'm going to boot them up by plugging them into the power board at the same time and see which one starts up first. So let's turn these off. Alright guys, so both devices are now switched off, and on the count of 3 I'm going to plug in the power board. So 1, 2, 3. So both devices are now plugged in at the same time, and they're both using the same 5-watt power bricks. I know the 11 Pro does come with a fast charger, but I'm not using that to make this test as even as possible. And they're both using both same certified lightning cables as well. So we'll see which one starts up first with the A13 Bionic on the left and the A12 Bionic on the right. So again, the 11 Pro coming in first there for the first test, and they're not too far behind the XS Max. So that's not bad at all. So the first thing we're going to do before we get into the heavy applications is just open like photos, camera, maps, weather, Safari browsing, the App Store, and just see which one gets there quicker. They are on the same Wi-Fi network as well, so you do know. But these are some of the applications we're going to run through afterwards, just to get a better indication. So we'll clear that out. So we're going to open some of these applications up a bit later and see which one goes better with these heavier applications than just general applications on the device. So I'm going to make sure that the brightness on both devices is to the max as well. Both are on the same Wi-Fi, as you guys can see. AirDrop off, everything is exactly the same. Alright, so we'll just double check the app switches. As you guys can see, app switches are cleared on both devices. So first of all, we're going to hop into photos and see which starts up first. So 1, 2, 3. Pretty much exactly the same. That's the one video we do have in there. So camera, 1, 2, 3. So the XS Max actually came in first there with the focus. So we're going to actually leave these applications in the background as well, just to see how the RAM does cope with all the applications in the background. So again, we'll open maps now. 1, 2, 3. Pretty much exactly the same. Weather, 1, 2, 3. So weather's pretty much exactly the same as well. So let's try that again because that one had a setting come up. So let's clear that out like this. As you guys can see, all exactly the same in there. Alright, 1, 2, 3. Pretty much identical, I think it was, so no difference there. App Store, 1, 2, 3. Again, pretty much the same. And now you will realize, because iOS 13 on both devices, iOS 13 actually focused a lot on speed. So both devices should be pretty similar when opening these general applications. So let's go to some Safari web browsing now. let's go to my speed test folder, which is here. So we're going to open up the Verge first. So 1, 2, 3. Oh, that did not work as intended. We'll just leave them like that because they're both loading exact same time. Let's get out of that and let's try open it properly now. 1, 2, 3. Again, exactly the same time. Alright, let's open new tabs. Let's go back to the speed test folder. Product reviews. This is CNET now. So 1, 2, 3. So they're on the same Wi-Fi, so it's pretty much whatever grabs the Wi-Fi first. So as you guys can see, the 11 lost there. So 10S Max actually got the lead there. Let's leave all these web pages open and go to the next one. 1, 2, 3. Apple website. Again, 10S Max got the lead there. Alright, another one. New York Times now. So this is a bit heavier of a web page. So 1, 2, 3. So they're pretty much neck and neck and exactly at the same time finish there. So not much of a difference so far at all, just from general web browsing and all that kind of stuff. Not much of a difference. So let's go back to The Verge. Actually, go back to CNET where they have this article on the iPhone. So let's click that at the same time. 1, 2, 3. Again, exactly the same. Like not much of a difference at all. So web browsing and opening up apps so far is pretty much the same. So we do have all the applications open up in the background, as you guys can see. Everything is exactly the same. Well, everything, should I say, is exactly the same. Cool. All right. Now, we're going to hop into some of the heavier tasks now. So we're going to go into, first of all, we're going to start off with Geekbench 5. So the scores are different on Geekbench 5 because they're altered to what Geekbench 4 was. So the scores are going to be a lot lower than what you normally see. But I'm still going to run Geekbench 4 to see if it gives us a higher result than what it did last year for the 10S Max. I don't know if it will because it might not be optimized, but I know Geekbench 5 is the newest one out. So we'll run Geekbench 5 first. So let's run this benchmark and I'll come back to you guys once it's completed. Alright guys, so both devices have finished up here. With a single core score of 1307 on the 11 Pro Max and 1118 on the 10S Max for single core score. Multi-core score at 2428 on the 11 Pro Max and a 2365 on the 10S, should I say, Max. Now, I can't really show you what these guys compete with because I don't think a lot of devices have actually used the Geekbench 5. That's why it's hard to show you and compare to what other scores because it's not really us to compare to. But there are these scores for Geekbench 5. As you guys can see, they're the specs as well, just so you guys know. So they both have 4 gigs of RAM. Now, I'm pretty sure that if I'm not mistaken, that there was something that came out this morning that the 11 Pro might have 6 gigs of RAM and 2 gigs are actually dedicated to just the camera and 4 gigs for the processing and all of the applications and all that kind of stuff. So we're not too sure yet. We're going to wait for a breakdown and a teardown, should I say, of the 11 Pro, but that's what apparently is coming out. Now, I'm going to run Geekbench 4. Maybe they'll give us a different result to compare to. But they're the Geekbench 5 results on the 11 Pro Max on the left and the 10S Max on the right. So let's open Geekbench 4. 1, 2, 3. 10S Max actually blew it out of the water there. It's a lot slower on the 11. So let's run Geekbench on Geekbench 4 on both devices and see if we get a different result. 1, 2, 3. Alright guys, so the devices have just both finished on Geekbench 4 and there are the scores. So 5490 on the single core score for the 11 Pro Max and a 4813 on the 10S Max and a multi-core score with 13426 on the 11 Pro Max and 11311 on the 10S Max. So as you guys can see there, they maybe give you a comparison compared now. They can actually see the difference in what the scores are getting. So a lot higher on the multi-core score and a pretty good jump on the single core score as well. So as more devices do come out, guys, and they start using Geekbench 5, we can actually compare it to the more Geekbench 5 scores. But for now, we'll compare it to the Geekbench 4. So as you guys can see, you get a bit more of an example of what the capable processor of the A13 Bionic is capable of doing in the 11 Pro and the 11 Pro Max and the iPhone 11 as well. But they are the scores, so we're going to close those. I'm just going to make sure everything is all good here, which it is. Alright guys, so I've actually just changed the name on the top of this one. This one had no name, so just if you guys realize that, I've just changed the name on that. There's nothing different in the settings here. Everything's exactly the same. So we're going to, instead of open GFX, we're going to open YouTube, Instagram, Netflix, and Spotify first. Just to get some apps, more apps within the app switcher, so we'll see how the RAM is going to power through all this. So we're going to open YouTube up, and we'll come back to them a bit later on as well. So 1, 2, 3. So again, I think we'll say the 11 Pro, I reckon, got ahead there just. But we'll come back to that later on. I just want to get them in the app switcher, like I said, so the RAM has more to compute. Instagram, 1, 2, 3. So again, the 11 Pro actually loaded up first and loaded the actual Instagram first as well, within Instagram, should I say. Netflix, 1, 2, 3. So I do actually want to test out the HDR feature within YouTube or Netflix a bit later on to see the difference, because this has a new HDR screen, which this doesn't. So we'll find that a bit later as well. Spotify, 1, 2, 3. So pretty much exactly the same there as well. Now, so before I continue with the Netflix, this has I think a HDR 10. Now this does play HDR 10, but I think this is a new screen within HDR, and I think it plays HDR specific content better than this does. So I just want to clarify that this does still play HDR, but I think the 11 Pro is a lot better at doing it. So let's hop into GFX now and we'll run that benchmark as well. Alright, so I didn't actually do it at the same time then, but it doesn't really matter. We'll just start this one right now. So 1, 2, 3. And I will come back to you guys once this has completed. Alrighty guys, so the test has actually finished, and you guys can see the difference there. So with the first test, the iPhone 11 Pro Max scored 3,706, and the iPhone XS Max scored 3,608, which is not that much of a difference. But when you drop down to the next test, in the 1080p off-screen test, the 11 Pro 8,385 compared to the 5,340 on the XS Max. So a big difference on the 11 Pro, jumping quite ahead there. As you guys can see, you've got the A13 GPU there and the A12 GPU. As you guys can see the rest of the test as well, not too much of a difference. There is still a difference, but not a significant amount. I thought there would have been a bit more. But when it comes to like the 1080p test, like this one, 15,000 on the left and 8,300 on the right. So there is a difference. And again, render quality, again, a bit. This one is pretty much exactly the same. It's actually a bit higher on the right on the XS Max. But the render quality up top is actually higher on this one, so it's almost 500 more, should I say, higher. So there are the results for GFX OpenGL benchmark. Now, for some reason, my 11 Pro screen has gone darker. I don't know why. It's a bit weird. As you guys can probably tell that right there. So hop into settings and see if I can alter that. So I don't know why it's dimmed down so much, guys, but they're exactly like everything's exactly the same on them. So very weird. Don't know what's happening here, but we're gonna move on to the next test, which is speed test. So 1, 2, 3. Let's make sure the server is exactly the same. So that one there. We're gonna run it first on the left, then on the right. So 1, 2, 3. And as these are running, I'm going to run once on camera like this, and then I'm going to run a couple off screen, and I'm going to plug in my SIM card to both devices and run an LTE test, 4G test, whatever you want to call it, on both devices as well, and see which one comes up faster, because the 11 Pro does actually have new antennas in it as well, with gigabit LTE. Not that I'm going to reach those speeds, but I want to see what the difference is. So again, 94.4 on downloads and 37.5 on the uploads through Wi-Fi. Again, like I said, I showed you before, they are exactly on the same Wi-Fi networks again. So we'll see the difference on this one. So pretty close, so 92. So not much of a difference through Wi-Fi at all. I'm going to run again the test one more time on Wi-Fi after this. Okay, so we're getting a bit higher of a reading For the uploads, again, drop down a little bit, so it's pretty similar. I think it's going to finish pretty close now, so 37.7. So not much of a difference there at all. So I'm going to run it one more time, and I'll come back to you guys when I have the results. Alrighty, guys, so we are back with the results. As you guys can see there, the consistency on the iPhone 11 Pro was much more than it was on the XS Max. So there's the initial Wi-Fi test we did run, which was pretty similar on both devices. The next one up, the actual download speeds on the XS Max dropped a bit. On the 11 Pro Max, pretty similar again for both the upload and downloads. Now we move on to the LTE test. They were both on the exact same servers, everything exactly the same. The ping was actually both times higher on the 11 Pro Max than it was on the XS Max. But there, the initial speed, so the downloads were actually a lot higher on the 11 Pro Max, but the uploads were higher on the XS Max. So that is consistent on both tests, as you guys can see, exactly the same, but 21 ping again on the 11 Pro Max, and the upload again higher on the XS Max, but the downloads higher on the 11 Pro Max. But they are the internet speed tests. I don't think it's too much of a huge difference, but on Wi-Fi, should I say, on LTE, there is more of a download difference so far, and I think the upload's not too much of a variation, but as you guys can see, they're 19.4 to 26 both times on the XS Max. So again, they are the Wi-Fi and LTE speed tests on both the 11 Pro Max and the XS Max. So moving on, we're going to go on to iMovie right now. So 1, 2, 3. So that I'm able to verify. Okay. All right, guys, we had a bit of a problem. I had to actually open the App Store up. Just to show you guys, the App Store is actually still open on this one, so I'm not going to clear anything except for iMovie, just so you guys can see, and it is still even. So let's clear iMovie again because it's having some problems, but I figured it out. So let's straighten the devices back up, and let's open iMovie again for like the 10th time properly. 1, 2, 3. There we go, and they both start up properly now. All right, create project, should I say, movie. Pick the 4K movie that I have recorded with my drone, and we're going to create movie. Now we're just going to export it. Click done on both devices. Okay, so from here we're going to go here to export, and we're going to click save video, not export project, what I did before, save video. Alright, and so there we go. So it gives me the option to do 4K. So on the count of 3, 1, 2, 3. Let's see which one actually gets the video exported faster. It looks like right now the XS Max actually is in the lead, and this happened last time with the test. I believe that the iPhone 10 actually beat the iPhone XS in one of these export movie projects from iMovie as well. So I don't know if it's because they're not optimized, or I'm not too sure, but it really looks like that the iPhone XS actually is beating the 11 Pro here, even though it does have the A13 Bionic chip, should I say, over the A12. So it is definitely ahead, and I did actually start at the identical time. So not too sure why. I just probably comes down to, like I said, that it's optimized for the iPhone 11 and it's not optimized for the iPhone XS, should I say, not for the iPhone 11. I'm not too sure. But maybe they're catching up. No, it looks definitely like the iPhone XS is still going to win here. So it's a very odd thing. I would have thought that they would have leaped ahead because of the new processor, but obviously that's not the case. So it's coming pretty close to the end here. I think the 11 Pro might close this out first, or it's going to be the exact same. Okay, so it was a little bit, half a second, if that, quicker on the 11 Pro Max over the XS Max. So not much of a difference at all. So that is nothing. That is not much of a difference there, like I said, at all. So that is in the photos now. So we've done that. Now let's open some games up. So Real Racing 3, 1, 2, 3. So again, exactly the same. Not much of a difference. Identical right now. Alright, so the XS Max actually got ahead there. Let's just skip ahead. So pretty much XS Max actually beat it there. So there you go. Alright, next one, Asphalt 9, 1, 2, 3. These are pretty intensive games. So again, Asphalt 9, I know what it is. So I know the iPhone 11 Pro actually a bit ahead there. Let's see which one actually starts up first. Still loading on both devices. Okay, there you go. So iPhone 11 Pro got ahead just there. Next one, let's go Temple Run, then Twitter. So 1, 2, 3. All right, let's try that. Oh, downloading configuration. I'm gonna have to start this one again to make sure they're even, because that's not even at all. So let's clear that. All right, let's clear that again. All right, let's try that one more time. All right, 1, 2, 3. Okay, neck and neck so far. Everything's exactly the same. 11 Pro, just ahead there. As you guys can see, everything, yep, still ahead there. Yeah. So 11 Pro still ahead there right now. So that's all right. I'd expected that. So, all right, guys, let's try that again. I've just cleared, as you guys can see, I've just cleared Twitter because it wasn't loaded. Let's try that one more time. 1, 2, 3. All right, so pretty much exactly the same again. All right, that's done. Now let's go back to these apps that I'd left open before. So go back to YouTube. 1, 2, 3. Okay, so good to know that nothing's been cleared out like that. Now I want to look at a HDR video. So if I do HDR on both devices. So guys, I've just had a look. It's quite odd. As you guys can see, on the 11 Pro Max, there's no actually HDR option to click on here, as there is on the 10s Max. So I don't know why that's the reason. I'm going to check my settings and I'll come back to you guys, but I don't know what is actually happening right now. Alright guys, I've actually just done some research and it just doesn't look like the YouTube app is updated for the 11 Pro Max. So I don't know why, but it just won't give me the option to do HDR. So obviously I can do 1080p on this, but no 1080p HDR. So we're just gonna play them and see if they look any different. So as you guys can see, even in the clouds and in the trees, how much darker everything does look with the HDR. So there is definitely a difference that I can see from, you might not be able to see through the video, but from just me looking at it, there is more of a high dynamic range through the iPhone XS Max, and it's just very odd that they haven't allowed it on the 11 Pro yet. So I don't know why they've done that, but that's that. Now let's go back to Instagram. 1, 2, 3. Pretty much exactly the same, so not much of a difference there. Netflix, 1, 2, 3. And now there could be a HDR movies on Netflix, so I don't know if they've... Let's have a look. Alright guys, I've just muted the sound there, but I believe this is HDR content through Netflix. And it does look exactly the same, to be honest with you, on both devices. I can't even tell, like I did through YouTube, I can't tell anything through this. They all look pretty similar. So, not much of a difference there. I can tell that the iPhone 11 Pro screen, the brightness thing has fixed itself, but it is actually brighter. Obviously, it's 800 nits compared to 625 on the XS Max. And you can actually tell that. So I can tell it's a bit brighter and a bit, it looks sharper. Because I know the contrast ratio is 2 million to 1 compared to 1 million to 1, I think. So the screen is a tad better on the 11 Pro. So, but HDR, I can't really tell at the moment, and you can't really see the difference as of yet. So they might be coming in a future update, maybe 13.1 that should be launching on the 24th of September. So maybe that's what it is. All right, guys, my camera did die there, but I was saying that the Netflix app has the HDR content, but I don't think iOS 13 maybe is supporting it on the 11 Pro Max yet, like it is on the XS Max. So maybe you have to wait for the 13.1 update, which is coming on the 24th of September. I'm not too sure, but that was the content on Netflix, and again, it looked pretty similar. Alright guys, so the last app we're going to open up is Spotify. So 1, 2, 3, exactly the same. Now that everything's opened up, let's try and go back to some other apps and see if they're still in the background, and see how the RAM management is going. So we'll go back to Real Racing, iMovie, and Asphalt Temple Run. We'll go a few of them. So we'll go iMovie first, 1, 2, 3, exactly the same. Real Racing, 1, 2, 3. So they're still in the background, which is good. Asphalt, 1, 2, 3. Still load. Oh, not loaded up as all. I got it out of it too quick, but that definitely was not loaded up, as you guys can see. So it's not going to be even now, but that was not loaded up. So that actually had to. So that's the RAM there. Had to restart that app. So there's that. Go Temple Run 2, 1, 2, 3. So that's still loaded up. Twitter, 1, 2, 3. Still loaded up. Let's go to some general ones. Weather, 1, 2, 3. So that's had to load up again, pretty sure. We'll go to App Store, 1, 2, 3. Had to load up again on the XS Max, not on the 11 Pro. And we'll go to Safari, 1, 2, 3. Again, the apps have to load up again. So that is still the RAM problem. So maybe it still does have 4 gigs of RAM. We thought that if it does have 6 gigs of RAM, maybe the 4 gigs would be more dedicated to just having RAM management and leaving the 2 gigs separate for the camera. But it just looks like it just doesn't want to, first of all, doesn't want to load this web page. But it feels like the RAM problem is still there, that the app's still closed in the background. So just to give you a comparison, these both have 4 gigs of RAM, and the brand new Note 10 Plus that just came out has 12 gigs of RAM. Obviously the OS is and all that kind of different, but just to show you that it's a lot more RAM on some of the newer devices compared to the iPhone. So yeah, so that is all the apps opened up. I'm just very curious about this HDR thing. I'm not too sure why. But that is the main part of the speed test. I'm quickly just going to do a Face ID test now as well and see which one opens up faster, because apparently the 11 Pro is 30% faster. So we're going to try that, and that will wrap up everything. So we'll get that set up and I'll come back to you guys. Alright guys, so both are set up for Face ID now. So I'm going to lock both devices and tap to wake at the same time and see if any of them recognize me for where I am. 1, 2, 3. That was identical times. If you guys, I'm going to slow that down in slow motion, but I think that was identical. That's not what I wanted. Let's try that again. 1, 2, 3. It looks to me that it's identical speeds right now. So 1, 2, 3. Again, identical. Not much of a difference at all. It doesn't look like there's a 30% difference than what they were saying. So I don't know where that's coming from, but it looks to me that's identical. Again, we'll do one more time. 1, 2, 3. Yeah, it looks exactly the same to me. So we're going to try just a different angle now. So I'm up top right now, just behind my camera. But I'm going to go a bit further down and see if it can read me from here. So 1, 2, 3. So again, it looked like a little bit faster than the 11 Pro when it did recognize me. We'll try that one more time. 1, 2, 3. That's not what I wanted. Let's try that again. 1, 2, 3. Both couldn't recognize me. So it just swiped up a bit quicker on the 11 Pro. Let's try that again. 1, 2, 3. Again, from where I am, the 11 Pro can recognize me. The XS Max can't. So maybe that is something to do with the new angles. They said that that the 11 Pro can read out, so it can read a bit more of an angle than the XS Max can. So 1, 2, 3. There you go. So maybe that is a thing. But in terms of speed, it looks like it is pretty similar on both devices. I don't see a 30% increase at all. They look just really similar to me. So, alrighty guys. Alright guys, so that wraps up the speed test there. We have run through everything from Safari to weather to a bit more of a benchmarking apps, and then some general application opening as well. And it looks like in terms of speed, there is not much of a difference at all between both devices. They are pretty similar. You guys did see for yourselves there. So if you want to upgrade for speed, I don't think it's something that's necessary right now. But for something about the cameras, I will be doing a camera test a bit later on, so I can test that out. But for speed-wise, I wouldn't upgrade to the 11 Pro from the XS Max because it's just not much of a difference at all that I've seen so far. Maybe down the line when a few more apps get optimized, they might be a bit better. But for now, it's just not much of a real difference. Alrighty guys, we've just wrapped up the speed test between the iPhone 11 Pro and the XS Max. Hope you guys did enjoy. If you did, share the video around, smash the thumbs up button, and subscribe for more videos. I'll have a camera test coming out later today as well, and a few other tests, maybe a battery test, a night mode test, and all that kind of stuff. So again, if you really enjoyed it, smash the thumbs up button. Hope you guys did enjoy, and I'll catch you guys in another video.